Dr. Debbie Knepper-Empel joins us right now, the NYU School of Medicine Associate Professor. Doctor, good to catch up with you under these trying weather circumstances. What do you tell your patients and how they handle this?
Well, I mean, as you mentioned, just like our phones can malfunction when the heat reaches these extreme temperatures, so can our brain and so can our other organs. So the currency we have, really, our money essentially is our sweat. So we could either use that as cooling systems by making more or saving more of it and then using it as our own AC if we don't have air conditioning. So the way you make more sweat is by drinking more fluids, by taking in more electrolytes. So what I tell patients to do is to stay hydrated, drink more fluids even before the heat wave, have more fluid available, just basically stock up. Aside from liquid, you can also eat more vegetables, eat more fruits, have all of that there. Even Pedialyte, you don't have to be a child. You can have Pedialyte available so that you can get enough electrolytes in, magnesium, things like that, have all of that available. And then when we talk about saving fluids and saving things so that you don't lose sweat as easily, keep the blinds drawn, keep the shades drawn. If you have reflectors, put them on the windows so that the light gets reflected so that you don't have everything coming in through the windows and kind of heating up your home like with a greenhouse effect. Now isn't the time for all that exercise. People who want to stay fit, it's a great idea, but now isn't the time for that.
Finally a recommendation I can admire, because you start off saying no alcohol, more fruits, more veggies, all of that stuff. And I thought, oh my God, what is this woman throwing at me? If this goes on, I'm kidding, but if this goes on a while here, to your point, a lot of people who don't stay hydrated, they're going to have heat stroke. They're going to have a lot worse. I mean, have you had patients come in dealing with these kind of things?
Of course I have. So I do sports medicine also. So I see a lot of people who have heat exhaustion and heat stroke. And sometimes the symptoms can be hard to recognize. I mean, sometimes people can just look a little bit confused. Sometimes people look like they're drunk, but they haven't been drinking. Sometimes they can be nauseated or vomiting. So I usually tell patients before the heat gets really extreme, make sure you have a plan with somebody, that you're checking in with them regularly, especially if you're older, especially if you're younger, especially if you have other medical conditions, so that someone's aware that you have a problem. If you're diabetic, for example, make sure to check your sugars pretty regularly. And, don't drink during that time. I know you might not like that one, but don't drink during that time, because sometimes people might mistake you for being drunk when you actually have a very low blood sugar, a very high blood sugar. So these are things to be aware of. And then symptoms of heat stroke and heat exhaustion, people can start to look a little bit altered, or like they're having mental status changes. People can look nauseated. And just think about the environment. So if someone has very cold skin in a very hot temperature, that doesn't make any sense. If someone has very dry skin when they should be sweating, that also doesn't make sense. So these types of things, someone looks very red and they're not wearing sunscreen, that might be a reason to also call the doctor. And plan accordingly. Like if you're walking your pet or something, do this when it's not very blistering heat, when it's pretty dark. So things to plan for.
All right. Well, the only thing that I like that you said is I can skip the workout tonight, as if. But doctor, always good seeing you. Good advice all. Please be safe and cool this weekend yourself. Dr. Deborah Birx with us right now, the former White House COVID response coordinator, author of Silent Invasion, a sort of a tick-by-tick experience of when this whole COVID thing exploded in the first place. Dr. Birx, great to have you back. How you doing?
Great to be with you.
What do you do when you got a heat wave like this? And now, of course, at the same time, we got COVID cases spiking, and the two are not related at all, but they do, make Americans feel uncomfortable, and they do get them worried. What do you think?
So I get up at about 4 to 5:30 in the morning, and I go out, then do my exercising at first light when it's still a little bit cooler, so that you can still get your exercising in. And I think, that's what we're talking about with COVID, modifying your routines when there is a spike if you really need to remain COVID-free.
All right. My exercise is getting up at that hour, but not exercising at that. But that's a whole separate thing, doctor.